How's it going, guys? My name is Franco and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Bitcoin halving and basically what to expect in the coming months and the potential of a pre-halving pullback. It is something that we have seen play out in the past and is something that is looking more and more likely going into the halving. Obviously, this should be a very bullish event. For those of you that don't know what is the halving, well, the block halving events happen every 4 years or 210,000 blocks on Bitcoin blockchain. Bitcoin's initial block reward was 50 BTC. The current block reward is 6.25. The next block reward will be 3.125. This is the lowest rate at which this lowers the rate at which Bitcoins are generated. The halving is periodical and programmed into Bitcoin's code. So every 4 years, the inflation rate essentially at which Bitcoins are mined is halved. So this is obviously a very bullish event, reducing supply effectively, which obviously supply and demand. If demand outweighs supply, or if supply is reduced, price will go up. So obviously, from a purely theoretical point of view, the Bitcoin halving is going to be a huge bullish event. But what if I was to tell you that will not be the case, and that likely the next coming months will probably be a bit more bearish? We'll probably see a price pullback of some sorts at least. So we'll jump right into that. I've got some stats and some little things to go over before over this video to try and help you guys see. We'll look at the history of what's happened in other halvings, and we'll kind of see where we are in this cycle at this point in time. But before we do jump any further, guys, remember to hit that subscribe button. We're sitting at 583 subscribers, so let's bump that up to 600 subscribers and continue our journey. We do post weekly cryptocurrency content, variety of different things, technical analysis, reviews of different products, all kinds of different stuff. So please go through, check it out, and see what you think. Comment, like the videos, and hit that subscribe button. So obviously the Bitcoin halving is just over 16 days away, or 2 weeks roughly. So it's getting very, very close. But unfortunately, this likely won't be the bullish case that everybody wants. This isn't going to send Bitcoin into the stratosphere, more than likely. So let's have a look at what happened in prior cycles. Obviously on chart here, this is a pretty convoluted chart, but I'll break it all down for you. We've got the history of Bitcoin. Each line on the screen, the vertical black line, indicate a halving, and as you can see, the green, red, and blue box indicate periods in a cycle. So we're talking roughly about a 4-year cycle here, so we don't need to worry about that too much. The other thing we want to take a look at that we spoke about briefly on our last video was the how many months in a row we've had up. So this indicates how many months have been green in a row. So obviously, 1-2 months green, 1 month green, 1 month green, 4 months, 1 month, 7 months green. Okay, so let's go right back to the first halving. This one is oddly similar. As we just said, if we go back across, we can see that we've had 7 green bars in a row leading into the halving. And that is very similarly the case with this first halving, the first cycle that we had. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green candles leading up to the halving. Yes, there was only 1 red candle in between, but what we do see is a pretty large price stagnation. You can see that from this the very top of the wick here to the eventual breakout was 5 months. So yes, there was only actually 1 red month down in the middle here, but from that peak to, if we just dart across, we'll move this box out of the way, from the peak here to across to the eventual breakout candle was 5 months. So we essentially had like a 5-month pullback. Yes, there was only 1 red month actually, but if you were buying in the top here, it was 5 months until you made profit. So and if we go across again, next thing to our next halving, we do see quite a similar picture. Now obviously not, if you have a look at the top here, our green candles, not necessarily as big a move into the halving, but still some positive price action into the halving. And then same thing again, if you look at to the the top of this candle here, and then eventually to cross to the breakout candle. This cycle we had 2 red months, and then obviously a slow churn up before the eventual breakout. It was about 6 months from the peak pre-halving to the eventual breakout. So a 5 month, whatever you want to call it, stagnation period, a 5 month, accumulation, whatever you want to call it. The second halving was a 6 month, and then if we go across to the third halving, this one is quite a bit different. This one was obviously also affected by COVID, so a little bit harder to pick because we did run up a lot earlier in the cycle, and this goes to show that whilst we see a lot of patterns form in Bitcoin, it's not always going to play out the same way. So with this one, we had really, so if we just draw out a line, obviously this pullback is far more significant. We had a far larger run up pre-halving, and it was 17 bars till the eventual breakout. So this one, you could say, okay, it's an anomaly. Out of the 3 cycles, this one is the anomaly, but that goes to show that things aren't always going to play out the exact same. So at this point in time, yes, we've got a range of 5 to 6 to up to 17 bars of stagnation. Of course, this is quite a significant pullback after quite a parabolic move. If you just have a look at, these 5 months up, clearly, running up 5 months straight, almost to from the cycle low, almost to the all-time high, is pretty crazy. So yes, a big pullback was on the table, and that was what played out. And then having a look to the cycle that we are in at the moment, well, we've had a pretty significant run up, as we've said, 7 months up. So just being up 7 months, it seems like a very bullish indicator. Like, yes, Bitcoin's pumping really good, when in reality, this is not where you really want to be buying 7 months on the trot. It's only a matter of time that we see a pullback in Bitcoin, and it just so happens now that we are in the pre-halving month. So likelihood of a pullback is definitely on the table. So if we have a look at our dates, obviously 5 months would put us out to August to a breakout candle. So obviously we're talking about the breakout of this peak here at roughly $73,000. 6 months, obviously September would put us at September for that breakout candle. But as we've seen, it can take longer, it can take shorter, it can take really any amount of time. It could be a shorter one, it could be 4 months, right? But what we're really looking at here is a pre-halving pullback of any sorts, right? It doesn't have to be 5 months, doesn't have to be 6 months, doesn't have to be anything. It could be 1 month, right? But what we're looking at here is the pre-halving pullback, how long it could be, and it's about setting our expectations right, okay? Because if you're someone who's just bought recently, are you prepared to hodl this out? Are you wanting to sell? I'm not saying to sell, I'm not saying to buy necessarily, but being prepared so we're not making any irrational decisions, any emotional decisions, because if our portfolio goes in the red for a little bit, are we gonna do something stupid that we're gonna regret? So it's all about managing those expectations. Now, the other thing we want to look at for timing in this cycle is obviously our 4-year cycle. Now, as we can see on screen, you have about 1 month up, about 1 year up, a green, what we're considering parabolic stage in the market. And then you have roughly a 1 year drawdown. Of course, doesn't have to be exactly 1 year. It's just a roughie. And then you have roughly 24 months up. So from the cycle low to the prior all-time high, roughly 24 months, give or take. This one's probably really more, 25 months. Or if you want to measure it from that cycle low, there's some discrepancies, of course, but it depends how you want to measure it. It's just rough time frames we're talking about here. Obviously, another year up, and then a year down. This one was actually a year down exactly, which is nice. And then we have 24 months up. So this was exactly 24 months, which is nice. And then, of course, a year up, year down, and then 24 months across to the prior all-time high. So you can see that we're actually a little bit ahead of schedule at this point in time. But what this pre-halving pullback could do, theoretically, is if we, pull back for 6 months and then continue up to the prior all-time high or to the breakout candle, that would, put us back on track with our 4-year cycle. So These are all just ideas, right? Looking at timing in the market. If you're someone who believes in this 4-year cycle, as we've said, it doesn't have to be exactly 24 months up. It doesn't have to be exactly anything, right? It could be 24 months, 23, 25, 26. You know, we can move this around, or not the green one, sorry, but we can move this around. You know, it could be any one of these. You know, it might be a little bit shorter, this one, might be a little bit longer. It's hard to say exactly, but the point is that if we do get a pre-halving pullback, that will likely put us also on track for our 4-year cycle, which, you know, isn't a bad thing at all. It's good if we can follow these sort of cycles and pick them right. Okay, so from the charts, what we've been saying is we've had 7 months up, which is pretty, whilst bullish, obviously bullish. Short term, it is a bit bearish. We can expect a pullback. And then pre-halving pullbacks we have seen in the past, you know, 5 months, 6 months, and, you know, up to 17 months before the eventual breakout. So, you know, there is definitely that possibility. Now, let's have a look at another indicator that I think is interesting, and that is our fear and greed chart at this point in time. Obviously, things have been getting very heated as we broke into a new all-time high, and with that, you can see the Bitcoin, or the crypto fear and greed index, reaching, you know, really high numbers, up to 90 on the 5th of March. So yes, that was about a month ago, but you can see things are very heated at the moment. Now, typically when the fear and greed index gets overheated, starts hitting those really high numbers, such as, you know, the 80s and the 90s, it does typically indicate time for a pullback. You know, greed is getting, the markets are getting too greedy, and it suggests that it's time for a pullback, and that would, you know, make sense, right? We want to come back down into a bit more of a neutral zone. We have seen that, you know, obviously last month and last week was, you know, very greedy, and just now it is slowing down a little bit with this pullback. But I think if we can come back down a little bit lower into a bit more, you know, like the 50 neutral zone, or maybe even a little bit fearful, that would not be a bad thing at all, right? We don't want these markets being overheated for too long, because then you get large pullbacks. I mean, if we just have a look at one quick example, right, where we've, you know, pumped up and got really greedy really quick. Obviously June 2019, if I can ping the right thing, there we go, 92. You know, we hit a fear and greed of 92, and if we go back to June of 2019, that is obviously the interim peak, right, for Bitcoin, before having quite a significant pullback. So that's not to say that's exactly what's going to play out now, but you can see that when things do get that little bit overheated, you know, it's time for a pullback. You know, reset the fear and greed index, reset the sentiment, you know, let people get you know, essentially reset in their positions, so that when it pumps up again, it's you know, going to take people off guard and whatever else. So fear and greed index, you know, clearly too greedy, suggesting that it might be time for a pullback as well. Another chart I was looking at, which kind of continues the same ideas. Obviously, this is the net unrealized profit and loss, but what they've done here is kind of overlaid with each percentage point is you know, sentiment in the market. So capitulation, obviously, when people are in net losses, hope/fear. So obviously hope early in the bull market, whereas fear would be later in the bull market, or like once the bear market starts, would be fear. So, and it just overlays sort of market sentiment, and it's a good way of looking at this, because if we go back, same thing again, to prior cycles. So if we correlate this essentially with the Bitcoin halving, the first halving was in November of 2012. So, but what you can see here is that prior to the halving, in roughly August, is that we push, trying not to have this, you know, the tag on it, but what you can see is that the blue line, so that is the net unrealized profit and loss, pushes into or above 50%, which is what they consider the belief/denial phase. So, you know, once people get above that, they start to feel belief in the bull market, and then you can see that is right prior to the halving. So August, correlate that to August, that is the candle that was essentially the peak, and then we do draw back for a little bit, right? You can see there's a pullback, and then we can continue up in our bull market. If we go to the next halving, which was in July 2016. So if we go to July 2016, same thing again, right? You can see that we do push up right into this belief stage, into the into the pre-halving pullback, and then we slow down for a little bit before pushing up higher. So same thing again, right? So the halving in July, but then, you know, the pre-halving pullback starts in June. So you can see that, you know, we do run up into that, push into the belief stage before pulling back. Same thing again if we go to our next halving. Now the halving was in May 2020, but what you can see is same thing again. Here is where we get the push up into the pre-halving pullback into that June 2019 peak, where we pushed into the belief stage of the market before what was in this case quite a significant pullback. And would you, lo and behold, would you look at where we are at right now? We are just pre-halving at the moment, and we are just pushing into the belief slash denial or the belief phase of the bull market. So history suggests that you know, every single time we get that initial push up into the belief stage, you can see 1, 2, 3 pre-halving. So we push up into that belief stage pre-halving, and then we do get some sort of pullback before running it up into, you know, the euphoria stage essentially. Now that's not to say that this has to play out 100%. Obviously, you know, I can't sit here and tell you what the price is going to do, but this is just looking at the data, is that every time we've pushed into the belief slash denial stage pre-halving, we do then get a pullback, and that's where we are right now. So and as we've said as well, you know, other factors, yes, we're pre-halving, yes, we've had 7 months up, so it is looking like, you know, obviously the fear and greed getting very heated, so it is looking like we are getting ready for a pre-halving pullback based on this. But please, that is not to say that this bull market is over. You know, I still think that this is just the beginning, essentially. You know, I've just pulled this up just to give you guys an idea. You know, yes, we're pretty hot at the moment, but there is still that euphoria stage to go in this cycle, in my belief, in my opinion, not financial advice. But so pullback, pre-halving, into the halving, and then slightly after the halving, and then we can look at continuing on for the rest of this bull market into that, you know, 2025 2026 peak that we've been talking about for so long now. I want to have a look at some sentiment as well, just on Twitter, give you guys some ideas. So I was just looking through, you know, Bitcoin, let's see what people are thinking. I think this is pretty, I found a couple of tweets that I think kind of sum up what we're going to see, right? So Income Sharks, I don't know if you know him or not, say what you want. I think he generally gets a lot of his calls right, and he's generally got decent technical analysis. But this is kind of what we're looking at here, in my opinion, right? Is that we've had a run up, we get the low, we get a, you know, the peak, we then get a lower high, and we'll probably just bleed out for a bit pre and then post halving. As we said, it might be, you know, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, whatever it might be, but we'll get that that pullback, and then we can continue on the bull market. But what you'll likely see is during this pullback, people are going to be calling all sorts of crazy things, right? You know, probably towards the bottom of the pullback, once things you know, the pullback is essentially over, you'll start to see some pretty crazy calls such as this. Now Jason Pizzino, obviously he is mocking technical analysis, that he doesn't actually believe this. It's just a joke essentially. But you'll start to see things like, oh my god, this is a triple top, right? Triple top. Bitcoin's done for, and it's over, and you know, we have to now come back and retest this $20,000 CME gap, and then, you know, we'll pump up to 250k. You know, you'll see these sort of calls start to come out again during this pullback, and they're all just, you know, engagement based, right? They're all just trying to get your attention, because that's how a lot of crypto influencers make their money, is just through you know, shitty tweets that, you know, get your attention, or, you know, trash YouTubers, you know, like, you know, the good thumbnails and whatever else. So don't buy into that stuff, just stay logical, right? Because obviously, yes, the possibility of a pre-halving pullback is likely, but as we've said, we've probably still got a bit more to go in this bull market. This is just, you know, one of many pullbacks, right? We've already had multiple pullbacks, or, you know, mostly one pullback in this cycle. So it's probably time for another before what is the green parabolic stage of the market. Anyways, guys, that is pretty well going to do it. Hopefully that all made sense. If you have any questions, feel free to comment them down below. I'll try and respond. And of course, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's push up to 600 subscribers. And then we'll all just, I don't know, we'll have a party or something, right? Thank you all so much for watching. Go check out the referral codes down in my description if you are looking to sign up to a few different exchanges. But anyways, that is everything, and I'll see you in the next one.